case that is most likely the first of its kind. A parent in Canada is now fighting to omit their child's sex from their birth certificate, arguing the child should be able to determine if they want to be identified as a boy or a girl. Watch.
Why is it that you want neither male nor female indicated on Cyril's birth certificate?
I don't believe that it's actually possible to get a totally accurate, 100% of the time, guess on that question.
Joining us now, former Arkansas governor and Fox News contributor Mike Huckabee. Governor, I'm sure that these parents have the child's best interest in heart from their point of view. It might not be the choice that I make, but is this a situation where we have culture, science, ethics, and religion all sort of clashing at once, and the government sitting there saying, well, we don't actually make the birth certificates like that?
Dana, this is a disturbing story on many, many levels. But one of them is because there really is one of two choices. A person is a male or is a female. That's a biological reality. You can pretend that someone, is African American when they're actually white. You can pretend anything you want. We all pretended things when we were children, but it doesn't change reality. And this is a disturbing trend where parents say that, well, my child can make that decision when he or she is 6 or 7. I've raised 3 kids. I've got grandkids. The truth is, kids can't decide what they want for dinner. They don't have the maturity to make these kind of decisions. And there's so many studies. There's a great article by Dr. Michelle Cretella, president of the American College of Pediatricians, in which she argues that this is really a damaging thing to children. It's disturbing.
And so you, as a former governor, if you were looking at the situation in your state, how might you resolve this? Because you're talking about parents who love their child, and yet the state actually needs to, I guess, step in here and make a decision.
I think we've got to face reality. Sure, these parents, I'm going to say, I'll grant and stipulate they love their child, but they may not know how to love them in a way that makes sense for them biologically. Again, you can pretend that your little boy is really a little girl, but he's still a little boy. And unless you go through a gender reassignment surgery and change the biological nature of that child and the bodily functions, and there are many studies that show this is not something that ought to be entered into lightly. And in fact, if it is, there are serious health consequences. And even in Sweden, where there's a lot more support for LGBTQ activities, please know that the suicide rate is 20 times higher for transgendered individuals. This is not something that people ought to smirk at or laugh about. It's incredibly serious. And a lot of people seem to be just staring in the face of reality and saying, no, it's not boy or girl. It's whatever I want it to be. Well, I'm sorry, Dana, that's not the way life deals us. It just isn't.
Well, it's certainly tough. An interesting case, certainly in British Columbia, which apparently is the first of its kind. And I imagine, Governor, it won't be the last. This could be the beginning of a trend.
Well, it's already the beginning of a trend. But, there's a case in point. Katharine Hepburn, when she was a little girl, didn't want to be a little girl. She wanted to be a little boy. She cut her hair off. She went by the name Jimmy because she just didn't like it. Now, she grew out of that phase and became one of the leading ladies of our time. But what if Katharine Hepburn had been allowed to just be Jimmy her whole life?
Right, Governor.
I mean, that's the things we're trying to deal with.
A complicated topic, but we're always glad to have you help us think it through. Thank you, Governor. And we'll be right back.
Thank you.
I love how USAA gives me the peace of mind and the security just like the Marines did. At one point I did change to a different company with car insurance and I was not happy with the customer service. We have switched back over and we feel like we're back home now.
The process through USAA is so effortless that you feel like you're a part of the family.
I love that I can pass a membership to my children and that they can be protected. We're the Williams family and we're USAA members for life.
Call USAA today to talk about your insurance needs.
Home is where we hit the high notes.
Bring back my bunny.
Especially when the hot water goes out. Trust Angie's List to help.
That's cool.
Visit angieslist.com today.
It's here! The new Publishers Clearinghouse $15 million summer prize event. $15 million for a lifetime of financial security. Enter at PCH.com right now. August 31st, you could win $15 million.
I used to love going out early in the morning with my watering can and clippers to enjoy my garden. Now things have changed. My angel helps me stay active and continue to do the things I enjoy at home.
I love to bring a smile to her face and know that I'm making a difference when she needs it most.
Visiting Angels, America's choice in home care.
You're searching for something, like the perfect deal on the perfect hotel. So wouldn't it be perfect if there was a single site where you could find the right hotel for you at the best price? There is, because TripAdvisor now compares prices from over 200 booking sites to save you up to 30% on the hotel you want. Trust this bird's words. TripAdvisor, the latest reviews, the lowest prices.
I had so many reasons for not losing weight, for putting it off. Sound familiar? It's time to take control with Nutrisystem.
Introducing new Lean 13 from Nutrisystem. Lose up to 13 pounds and 7 inches overall in your first month. Lose weight fast. Money back guaranteed.
You gain energy, you improve your health, and you lose weight. I'm Marie, and I lost 50 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Order your 28-day plan right now. With Lean 13, you'll get specially designed meals, plus 1 week of new NutriCrush bars to crush cravings free, and 1 week of Turbo Shakes to bust belly bloat free.
Belly fat? Got that under control, too.
Call or go online in the next 2 minutes and we'll even throw in FedEx shipping free. Lose up to 13 pounds and 7 inches overall your first month. Millions of people have lost weight on Nutrisystem.
It's time to take control.
Go online or call 888-526-THIN right now and get new Lean 13 with bars and shakes free.
Excuse me, are you Johnny Bench?
Yes.
Would you mind signing this?
Sure.
And this.
Okay.
And this. And this. And this.
After a long day of signing autographs, Johnny Bench relies on Blue Emu products. Stay legendary. It works fast, and you won't stink.
TrueCar is great for finding new cars. You're smart, you already knew that. But it's also great for finding the perfect used car. You'll see what a fair price is, and you can connect with a TrueCar certified dealer. Now you're even smarter. This is TrueCar.
The Fox News specialists are firing on all cylinders. Eric Bolling puts politicians on notice with Wake Up America. Ebony K. Williams breaks down legal battles impacting you. And Kat Tim hits the streets and talks hot topics with the people. Expect the unexpected all this week on the Fox News specialists.
Thanks for being a part of the story tonight on this busy foreign policy day. Tucker Carlson is next, and I'll be back in 1 hour with the 5. So keep it right here, and we'll see you back here tomorrow night at 7 p.m.
Well, good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. We'd hoped to be off the Twitter beat by now, since there was actual news happening in the world, but there was a development in the president's ongoing feud with a certain cable news outlet that we felt was revealing enough to bring you details of tonight. Remember that professional wrestling video the president tweeted out the other day, the one with the CNN logo superimposed on the face of the villain? How could you forget that? Well, we interrupt this broadcast for some breaking news, because CNN had its own crack investigative team working through the night to hunt down who made that seconds-long piece of tape, because nothing is more important than that. And in the end, of course, they found out. We'll let them explain what happened next.
The Reddit user behind it posted his apology after CNN identified and tried to contact him. He apologized for some of his other posts that were racist and anti-Semitic. Now, CNN is not publishing the user's name because of his apology, his removal of all the offensive posts, and his pledge not to repeat this behavior on social media.
Well, there's a lot to unpack here. First, one of the biggest news organizations in the world spent a ton of money and a ton of time trying to find out who made this video. Now, you probably don't care who made it, because why would you care? Some guy on the internet, crushing him is not that important. But CNN felt it was vital. Why did they feel that way? Because in politics, all dissent merits a response, even if it was a joke. Whatever it takes to beat your opponent, in this case Trump, is worth doing. So this is Oppo research posing as journalism. Then there's the question of this guy's name. CNN is keeping it secret. Why are they doing that? Well, as you just heard them explain, because the man in question has apologized and promised he'll never do it again. Wait a second. When did CNN become a law enforcement agency or a religious order? Since when is it CNN's job to police the internet for immorality? To spare punishment in return for repentance? Maybe they'll start selling indulgences next. But that was just the first explanation for why they're withholding the name. CNN later announced that it has, quote, decided not to publish the name of the Reddit user out of concern for his safety. But that turned out to be an even more problematic explanation, since the network had already announced that if the naughty internet guy in question ever got naughty on the internet again, for example, by, I don't know, criticizing CNN, then they'd release his name, which by their own description might imperil his life, which to a lot of people seemed pretty much like blackmail. Do as we say or we'll hurt you. Conventional news organizations don't typically make threats like that, ever. So it was another tough day for CNN today. One of their morning show anchors may have come up with the simplest answer of all. Let social media decide what to do about this guy's identity. Twitter, the perfect forum for thorny moral questions. Here's the quote. Should CNN reveal name of Reddit user who made Trump wrestling video? That's a tweet from Chris Cuomo. Quote, had a lot of bigoted and hateful material on page and website. Okay, so releasing this guy's name would endanger his safety, but then again, he's got, quote, bigoted and hateful material on his website, so maybe he deserves it. You decide, citizens of Twitter. Spare or kill him, your call. This is getting grotesque. We were all better off when CNN stuck to wars and hurricanes and missing airplanes. Mark Stein is a longtime news watcher, an author and a columnist, and he joins us tonight. Why? I'm wondering this. They put their crack investigators on the question of who made this dumb internet GIF. Why not find out where al-Baghdadi is or something?
Yeah.
If you're that good at finding stuff.
Right, that's what your investigative unit should be doing. This guy is entirely tangential to it. The way things work on the internet is somebody sends somebody a picture, and that person emails it to somebody else, and that person tweets it to somebody else, and 37,000 links later, it's become a thing, and nobody cares who created it or what other content he has created. Even if you accept that Chris Cuomo's definition of hate speech and bigoted and racist and anti-Semitic material ought to be the standard applied across the internet. Basically, a major news organization is policing some no-name schlub's internet content and threatening to reveal his identity if he transgresses their particular standards. That's completely nuts. I mean, Wolf Blitzer has basically put a horse's head in this guy's bed. And I don't know how this happened. CNN was like the world's most boring cable network just a month ago. Now it's behaving more and more nuttily each day.
So that's too good. So, but I mean, they seem to have come up with this kind of remarkable standard. They said, look, we're not releasing the guy's name because it would be a threat to his safety, presumably his physical safety. Right. But we're going to release his name if he says something we don't like. Now, people are calling that blackmail. Right. I don't know if it's blackmail exactly, but it's pretty weird for a news organization to, in effect, threaten harm if someone doesn't do what they say.
Well, the name is either newsworthy or it's not. But he got the message, they contacted him, and he immediately takes down all his internet posts. Now, I'm not a great believer in anonymity on the internet. I get tired of being called out by some twerp who has, you know, some butch name and an avatar from Game of Thrones, but he thinks that I'm not being manly enough on the internet. I'm not a particular fan of internet anonymity. But this guy got the message. He understands that CNN is watching him. So that if he were to make another anti-CNN GIF, another anti-CNN tweet, then they would release the fact that he's got a $500 lien on his home for unpaid property taxes, or his car was seen last Tuesday night parked outside Madame Fifi's bondage parlor. This is a ridiculous way for a news organization to behave, but the threat of people like Chris, and the idea, by the way, of Chris Cuomo and other CNN anchors saying, oh, we're so relieved. At last, you know, there were physical threats to our safety. And at last, we're all relieved because now we've got the goods on this guy and we can sleep at night and journalists are free to walk the streets once more. Get lost, you creeps. The 5th anniversary of the Danish cartoons, I appeared on stage with 5 other people. Of those 5 other people I was on stage with in Copenhagen for the 5th anniversary of the Danish Mohammed cartoons, one was shot at point blank range, the other had his event shot up and 2 people were killed, another was forced out of public life entirely, and the 4th had her family's restaurant firebombed. Those are real threats against media figures that go on in Europe right now. The idea that reworking a joke that everyone knows is a joke is a threat to Chris Cuomo's safety is the most narcissistic, solipsistic act of navel-gazing by a profession that is already so self-obsessed, nobody who isn't in the media can stand the media.
That's so nicely put. And the sense of humor is always the first thing to go. That's always the sign you've completely lost perspective. CNN has Ministry of Truth. Mark Steyn, God bless you for coming on. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Tucker.
Well, meanwhile, in the realm of real news, the 4th of July holiday saw ominous actions from the country of North Korea. On Tuesday, the DPRK launched its first ever ICBM, a 2-stage rocket that could travel more than 3,000 miles, the U.S. military estimates. That's far enough to hit Alaska. Now, today, the UN ambassador, Nikki Haley, warned that military action is on the table as a response to aggression from North Korea. What happens next? Michael Malice is an expert on that country and a biographer of Kim Jong-il. George Friedman is the founder of Geopolitical Futures, and they both join us now. So first to you, Michael, what is the point, as an expert on North Korea, what is the point of this exercise? The Kim regime obviously thinks this through. It has some strategic purpose. What would that be?
See, when you're trying to analyze North Korea, it's trying to like read a book upside down in a mirror and underwater. You have to try to deduce backwards. And what I realized just today is this. North Korea has always asserted their right under their sovereignty, just like the U.S., to engage in shipment and sales of weapons. What we are seeing, in my opinion, incidentally or by accident, is North Korea having commercials for their product. They're showing that their missiles work, and they're also showing their missiles allow them, a country the size of Pennsylvania, to stand up against China, Japan, South Korea, and the U.S. and basically be invincible. So this is a great sales pitch for them to show that they have weapons that they can sell and make a lot of money of. And I haven't heard anyone realize that that's the case.
It's fascinating. It's a dangerous sales technique. George Friedman, you game things out for a living, I think, pretty accurately. We're going to press China to help mitigate this threat. If they don't respond and we're forced to use military action of some kind, what happens next?
Well, first, the Chinese have no reason to solve this. They don't want the North Koreans to have weapons, but they would love the United States to have the military need. Because in that case, the United States may fail, it will be portrayed as an aggressor, and so on. So I don't think there's any chance of China really solving this. The next step is to continue to press so that the United States makes it very clear that they've tried everything possible. At the point where that fails, Secretary of Defense Mattis has made it very clear. The United States will not allow North Korea to get an ICBM that can reach the United States, and is not going to wait for military action until they do get that ability.
So what does that, I mean, if I could just quick follow-up, so what does that mean? What form would military action take, do you think, most likely against North Korea?
Well, the obvious goal is to take out the nuclear facilities. The problem is that the North Koreans have massive artillery aimed at our allies, South Korea, aimed at Seoul, a city of 25 million, designed to deter anybody from acting. We're therefore going to have to go after those artillery pieces. The problem is they're defended by heavy air defenses. That means we're going to have to take down the air defenses. And that means that this is way more complicated than a surgical strike. And it's one of the reasons why the United States has tried to do everything possible not to have to go do this. Because if we do it, it is complicated, it is messy, and it's dangerous.
Well, it sounds incredibly dangerous. Michael Malice, do you see another way out?
I mean, we've already passed the point where we've tried everything. We've tried to be nice with them. We had the sunshine policy with South Korea. We tried to be threatening with sanctions, and Kim Jong-il chose to allow his population to starve rather than let the UN bring in food and keep them alive, because he said if we let the UN in, they won't need the government. So we've tried threats. We've tried to be nice, and North Korea continues blindly on its path. And, I disagree in the sense that they now have an ICBM that is capable of reaching the United States. They have crossed the red line. And at the same time, I don't think it's realistic that we're going to engage in military action with them, certainly not in the near future, and certainly not when China and Russia both said very recently that military action is off the table.
George Friedman, it seems so reckless of China, which my understanding is the one country that might be able to exert pressure sufficient to stop this, to stand back and allow it to happen. Do you think the Chinese leadership has thought this through?
Yeah, I think they have. I don't think the moment for military action is there. I don't think they have a capable ICBM at this point. I disagree with my colleague. I think they are close to it, but their guidance system isn't there and is improving. The Chinese feel that we will act before they reach that point. We probably are getting very close to that point, and they're prepared to let us go do that. The Chinese are not necessarily reckless, but they think the Americans are predictable. And we are in this particular case, and they're going to carry the burden. And I think the problem is that the United States really doesn't want to attack. But I think the division point here is, when do they have a deliverable nuclear weapon? My view is they don't have that yet.
I don't see a good outcome, or certainly good options. Thank you to you both, Michael and George. Appreciate it. Well, Democrats are eager to unseat the current president, of course, so eager that this week they're promoting a kind of medical coup d'etat against him. Could it happen? The 25th Amendment is what they're citing. We'll tell you what that is and what it may mean up ahead. Plus, another cop lies dead, her killer apparently driven by the hatred of police. A lot of people agitating against the police recently. Are they fostering a climate of hatred that caused this? We'll debate that just up.
Each year, Sarah climbs 58,070 steps. That's the height of Mount Everest. Because each day she chooses to take the stairs, at work, at home, even on the escalator. That can be hard on her lower body. So now she does it with Dr. Scholl's orthotics, clinically proven to relieve and prevent foot, knee, or lower back pain by reducing the shock and stress that travel up her body with every step she takes. So keep on climbing, Sarah. You're killing it. Dr. Scholl's, born to move.
At Farmers, we've seen almost everything, so we know how to cover almost anything, even a coop soup.
So beautiful.
Beautiful just like you.
Oh, thank you.
And we covered it November 6, 2009. Talk to farmers. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
If you could book a flight, then add a hotel or car or activity in one place and save, where would you go? Expedia gives you the world in your hand, so you can see more of it. Expedia.
Introducing the new Publishers Clearinghouse $15 million summer prize event. Don't miss your chance to win $15 million. Hurry, enter at PCH.com today. August 31st, you could win $15 million.
Welcome to the all-new Hulu, personalized just for you, with a deep streaming library and now offering live TV from over 50 live and on-demand TV channels. Get Hulu or get Hulu with live TV, with plans starting at just $7.99 a month. Hulu, start your free trial today.
Fox News Channel on Sirius XM. Your favorite shows on Channel 114. Plus, every story, every 15 minutes. Fox News headlines 24/7 at Channel 115. America's got issues. Sean has answers.
It's time we stop liberal fascism.
Must-see insight from Anthony Scaramucci. Next, Hannity.
Attention all women who have been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. In February 2016, a manufacturer of talcum powder was ordered to pay $72 million by a jury to a woman who died of ovarian cancer after 35 years of using the manufacturer's talc-based products. If you or a family member have been diagnosed with ovarian cancer and used talcum powder prior to the diagnosis, call Talcum Powder Alert today.
Please call 800-679-1565.
8:46 a.m. The attack on the World Trade Center begins.
102 minutes later, the Twin Towers fall,
taking with them the lives of nearly 3,000.
Including 343 firemen.
And 60 police officers.
Stand for your community. Run for our heroes.